Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff St. Laurent, and this is the Tuesday Live Show. Love doing this as I help coaches transition to a full-time business. If you're a coach who's in the throes of launching your business, thinking about it, contemplating it, but really wanting to, or in those beginning stages where you're moving along and you're just like, you're not sure what to do, I can help. Everything I do is for you to help you transition to a full-time business, setting up the structures, the marketing, all that stuff, diving into the details with you. I do record all of my live shows. I put them on my website, sellingcoaching.com, in my university. Check that out. It's a great resource and education for you coaches. If you want to start off right on the homepage at sellingcoaching.com, enter your name and email. That's where you not only will get a great audio resource called Launching Your Full-Time Coaching Business, the first 3 vital steps, but it's also going to put you in my email community where you're going to get information from me on a weekly basis, helping you out, moving you forward, and it will also keep you up to date on any of the programs that I offer. Like I'm launching my 5-month group mentor coaching program again later on this month. So if you're interested in that, just check out down below. There's a link to check that out. That's my 5-month group mentor coaching program. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about something very important in terms of us being able to get business as a coach, and that's how to get better at speaking. You could call it your presentation skills, but at the end of the day, we must be able to articulate our message in different forms, but speaking, seminars, workshops, call it what you want, events, webinars, right? The online, if you will, version, which is also popular these days. It's vital to get our message across as a speaker. And we've got to get better at speaking. And it's a vital element because when people start to listen to us, when they start to hear us, as we start to share some information, they start to feel understood, because hopefully part of what we're sharing is relating to them. They feel understood. They feel that we understand them. Hopefully, as we share parts of our story and things that we've gone through and working through as well, they can start to see a part of us that they hopefully want to be like, they want to aspire to, maybe once was, but aren't anymore. They begin to know us, trust us, like us. We're starting to build rapport, even in a medium like this where I'm doing, we've never met. I don't even know if you're there right now, right? Watching this live or the recording of this, right? But what's happening is you're getting to know me and who I am. Just by talking to someone, by listening to someone, watching someone, even if you're not interacting with them directly, you can start to get to know them and who they are, because we've met people. When someone, is authentic and real, and this energy that can be exchanged, even in if let's say a one-way conversation, even something like this where I'm doing a show, if you will. But those are very important components. The reason I bring a lot up, and the things that are created in an engagement like that, face-to-face, live or virtual or recorded, is because those are the elements that are needed in order for someone to start contemplating, thinking about, or knowing and understanding maybe how you could help them. Even if they don't know anything about your services, that actually doesn't matter. They don't need to know about coaching. That's really irrelevant. What they need to know and understand is, oh, I like this person. I feel like this person can help me. That's what they're going to know inside. They're going to be like, I feel like this person can help me. I don't know how. I don't know what it looks like, but I feel compelled to reach out, create a conversation, open up a conversation, and that's where we go from there. And so that's why speaking is such a vital component of what we do. Now, here's the challenge of it: is most people, and including myself when I started off, speaking, doing presentations and things like that, it's not exactly easy. And even for someone who's an extrovert or who's very outgoing, those types of people, it's still not easy, because this is a completely different medium in terms of what we're sharing. Yet it's required. But then obviously you get to the introverted person, a more shy person, and honestly, just like myself, that's me. I'm not. You might think I'm extroverted. I do this, but and that goes into what I'm talking about today, is because I've gotten better at speaking. I've worked at this because I realized very quickly that if I wanted to be successful in my coaching business, that it was really like a seminar coaching company, because I needed to get out there and share my message and be able to articulate it. This is not something easy for me to do. Well, it's easy for me now, yet it wasn't easy for me, if you will, growing up or starting off in this business. And that's what I'm sharing with you now, is to start to understand this and the importance of it. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't work very hard on those speaking skill sets. Literally, I would say, and I've been in business as a full-time coach since 2004. And then 10 years prior to that, or even more than that, I was in the fitness industry. Yeah, so it was like 15 years prior to that, I was in the fitness industry. And a couple years in, I started to do some group fitness, and I was motivated to, but I was scared as heck. But I was in front of people, right? So that's close to 30 years, actually over 30 years of me working at this craft. That's is that 30 years? I don't know. I'm 45, so I wasn't 15. So it's a good 20 years of me working at this craft to be able to come to you now and be able to talk about it and do this comfortably and excitedly and genuinely. But it didn't start off like that. But the point is I realized very quickly that even as an introverted, shy person, I needed to, and need might be a painful word, a painful associated word versus want to, desire to. At the end of the day, if you're passionate about helping others through this vehicle we call coaching, and whatever your specific message is, then I'd ask you to consider, if you're not already, really beginning to work on that speaking skill set. So, and I wanted to start off today, I want to give you some specific things you can start doing, but also I wanted to help you understand why. So I'm not just here saying, oh, you need to speak. And then you're like, but Jeff, I'm shy, I'm introverted, I don't want to speak. Can I just run Facebook ads to an opt-in and then just sell them something and call it a day? Well, you could, but at some point along the way, there's got to be interaction. Well, I suppose there doesn't have to be, right? But at some point, unless you're representing another product or another service, like you're the face, you're the brand. And if you're going to be getting coaching clients, you're going to be working with them, there's got to be some interaction, and that's done typically through speaking. So now that I've kind of outlaid the why it's so important with our business, let me dive into a little bit of specificity to kind of help you on this road, especially if you're starting off, even if you've been doing it a little bit, but still like, you got that big gulp when it comes to like the thought of being in front of an audience. And even now, like for me to do something like this, it's very easy for me to do. But getting in front of a live audience, I'm still nervous. I'm still got butterflies in my stomach. There's still a lot of that space that goes on. I've done it enough to have confidence and be excited. It's more nervous excitement versus nervous like I'm sick to my stomach and gonna throw up. But trust me, I've been there before. But now let's talk about the journey to get there. And so, and I do this with my one-on-one mentor coaching clients, and even in my groups, my 5-month group mentor coaching program that I spoke about earlier. You can look down below for the links to that. But how we get you there, I'll be straightforward. There's no other way to begin practicing besides actually doing it. So like there's just no other way. You can read about it, you can watch videos about it, but you're not getting better at it. And like I love golfing, and the Masters was on this weekend, the Masters tournament, and I watched golf like ridiculous amounts, like just I had the DVR and everything, and then I played golf on Sunday when it was over. I wasn't any better at it. And I was watching their swing and how they move and listening to the strategy and the commentators. And that's part of why I enjoyed watching it. But I wasn't any better at golfing. In fact, I was worse because I was thinking about it more, the next day and realizing that I'm so not good compared to anybody really. So, but the point is, I want to get better. How do I get better at golf? I actually got to get out and swing. I got to learn. I got to film myself, etc. Right? And this is exactly my story of how I started getting better at speaking, and that goes back to my fitness industry days when I was, presenting group fitness. I had to film myself and watch myself with someone with a trained eye, because a lot of what I was teaching it was the verbal cues, but it was a nonverbal cues in terms of my body and how I moved, because I was that physical role model, meaning people would mimic what I would do. If I pull my shoulders back and open up my chest, if I didn't say a word, I would just do this, and you get 50, 100 people, whatever, 20 people in a class, they would do the same thing, right? If I shrugged my shoulders, if I bent over, they would, you know what I mean? So they followed you visually. And so it was very important, not only the words I said, but also the movements. And over a 10 plus year time frame, I really had to watch that and listen to myself. And honestly, that was quite painful. That was quite painful However, I got to the point where I enjoyed watching myself. I enjoyed listening to myself, not because I was full of myself, but because I saw the improvements. I heard the improvements, and I was excited and proud of the product that I put out there. And it reflected in the numbers of the people that came to class, the people that gave feedback, that got results, everything. And so when I talk about now and with golf, like, how do I get better? I can't do it by watching, right? I've got to actually start doing and swinging and getting feedback and videoing and getting a trained eye saying, oh, you move your shoulders, your hips aren't going here, you're using your arms too much, and everything like that. So how do we begin to practice speaking? Well, how do we get better at speaking? We got to begin practice speaking. And the first thing I'll say is that just that word I'm giving you there, practicing. You're practicing. This isn't like the final go around. This isn't your TED talk. Like, you're not there right now. Maybe some of you are, but how do you get there is you practice. You think someone gives a TED talk and just comes up with what they want to say and just get up there. Maybe there's people, that have done it enough. But the point is that they've done it enough where if there's minimal to no preparation, it's something they do on a regular basis. No, people that do a TED Talk, as an example, they practice and they rehearse. In order to even get to that spot to be considered for that, there's been years or whatever of practice and rehearsing to get to that spot, but real life. And so what I'd suggest to start doing is honestly a very safe space. It might not feel safe, is like, even now I'm doing a live video broadcast. I happen to be doing it on Facebook. If you're watching the recording this, it's over to YouTube, it's on my website, etc. But doing live video broadcasts, even to start off, you could do a test version. Like, I know if you're using Facebook as an example, on the left-hand side when you're setting up a Facebook live broadcast, there's an option to click where you can say test, do a test broadcast. So you can have the video, the microphone set up just like someone like myself right now who's going live. But when you go live, it's going to feel real. It is real, but you're the only one that's going to be able to see it on the other end. And so now it's going to give the simulated effect, but it's not going to actually be out there yet, right? So you can come up with a schedule where I'm going to do that X amount of times, 3, 4, 5 times. Like, don't overkill it. Like, just start off just doing something for 2-3 minutes. I'm not saying a 20-30 minute whatever. Just talk about a topic. Get on. This is what I'll tell my clients is get on, and I'm like, just share a story that you know of, not even related to your business. You're like, oh my God, this weekend I was watching the Masters and one of the things, and Tiger Woods this, and I went out golfing, and I saw 2 deers run across. And you're telling a story like you'd tell your friends. That's really what, to me, great speaking is about. Is it's sharing a story, sharing parts of yourself, so people can laugh, they can smile, they can sob, they can relate, they can connect with you. That's what speaking's all about. And so now share a story that you don't have to think about, that you don't have to like script out and remember. It just, if you're gonna call your buddy up or your friend up, or tell your spouse or your kids something that happened this morning. You don't have to like plan it out and script it out. Like, oh, let me think about what I'm going to say. You don't have to wait for the perfect time and put your makeup on and whatever. You just like, oh, guess what happened today? And you tell the story. That's what I want it to be to start off with, right? So you start off with things that you know. You start off with things that you have to think about, things that would allow you in a medium that, especially, the lights are on, right? And the camera's live, and you're like, but so now with the delivery of it, there's enough you've got to process and to get through, and not even a real situation in a test version, but start off with the story and start off by just sharing something you have to think about. And then gradually you do that 3, 4, 5 times, share a different story each time, but you're going to start getting, I'll say, more numb to what was freaking you out before. Like, cause you know what to expect. The light goes on, 3, 2, 1. Type of thing. You could start inviting, and this might sound weird, right? But you could start inviting some friends, some family, bring a friend, keep it small, to your home, it could be to Zoom, for a 15-minute little event, but you have to make it like a big thing. Like, hey, just listen, I'm launching my seminar and coaching company. I want practice sharing my story of what brought me here. It's like 15-20 minutes tops. Would you show up on a Zoom link this Friday at whatever time, right? This is like your first little practice event. So you get on there. Thanks everyone so much for coming. And, some of you know me, some of you don't, but I want to kind of share, my story. And when you share your story, the great part is, again, it's your story. You don't have to script it out. You don't have to like, oh my God, what happened to me? Like, what happened to you. You lived it. So, you practice it a few times prior, and then you go get people on. It's like a live event in your living room on Zoom, and you share your story. You open up conversations, and you get some positive feedback. Like, oh, wow, that's great. I never knew that about you. Like, oh, good luck, and that's starting the process off. Eventually you've got to now get to the spot where like, oh, maybe I'm going to host a little event. Maybe I'm going to do a little 30-minute event. Maybe I'm going to do a 30-minute webinar. Maybe this time I'm going to do a live broadcast. Instead of doing a test version, I'm going to go live for real. The reality is if you do that, most likely no one's going to watch it or watch the whole thing in its entirety anyways. But the point is you're making some small steps along the way. And then especially if you do something like this, the point is watch the recording of it. Film yourself, watch that. And like, however painful that is, the whole point is watch yourself, because then you can look and you can be like, oh my God, like right now I'm looking at the camera if you're doing something like this. But if I'm doing like this, like right now, if you're watching me, I'm just looking at the screen, looking at myself, which just makes me more self-conscious. But if you're watching this, I'm not looking at you, and it's awkward. It's just like having a conversation face to somebody and them like looking off in the distance. There's just no connection there, right? So maybe one of the things you'd be like, oh my gosh, when I present, at least virtually, I've got to train myself to look at the camera like I'm doing now. I'm doing this and I consciously do this, and it's not easy to do. It's easy for me to do now because I've trained myself to do it. I'm looking into this bright light, and at this camera. But it's something that I had to practice to do, and it makes my videos much better, right? Then it could be something like, oh my God, I'm talking too much. Or as I'm doing this, I'm swaying, and there's too much and it's distracting. Or maybe you can see more and you're playing with something, or you're swiveling in your chair. So just, all right, I'm going to ground myself, or I'm going to slow myself down. But it's not all these things at once. It's what's one thing I can do. Let me look better at the camera. Let me stop moving around as much. Let me stop swaying. Maybe I need to pause a little bit more because I'm saying, okay, right, okay, as filler words. So I'm going to start saying a sentence and then